He was one of the people behind the Magnitsky Act, the international legislation that exposed Vladimir Putin's inner circle to asset freezes and travel restrictions. Now, Vladimir Kara-Murza has been sentenced to 25 years in prison by a Moscow court. The journalist and politician has been involved in opposition activities for over 2 decades. He was a close friend and ally of the assassinated Kremlin critic Boris Nemtsov. The harsh punishment for Kara-Murza has drawn widespread criticism around the world. After the verdict was read, his wife, who lives in the United States with the couple's 3 children, praised his courage, consistency, and honesty.
He has proven time and again that he would not back down, that he would not abandon his fight, that he would not betray his country and betray his ideals, that he would keep on fighting. And this sentence shows that they're so afraid of him and they hate him so much for his consistency, for his courage, for his amazing bravery. This is absolutely nightmarish what we're going through as a family, but it is also absolutely nightmarish what we're going through as a country. The Russian state has made Russia a country aggressor.
Let's talk now to Russia analyst Maria Snegovaya from the Center for Strategic and International Studies in Washington, D.C. Good to see you. Thank you for coming on DW today. What is your reaction to the verdict?
Well, just as everybody else who knew Vladimir personally, among other things, we admired his courage and commitment to fighting for Russia, for free and democratic Russia. And of course, we're all horrified by what's going on, because this is really outrageous, even by Kremlin's own standards, where the bar, unfortunately, has been really, really low.
Yet, what do you say about the severity of the punishment? Because it is striking, isn't it?
Definitely a quarter century for Vladimir, who already suffers from a bunch of health conditions, because just a reminder that the Kremlin tried to poison Vladimir twice in the past with a substance allegedly similar to Novichok, the nerve agent, and there are long-term consequences to his health. So this is for sure a really, really dangerous situation on top of everything else, right? On top of just being charged for staying in prison for quarter a century. Clearly, that's Kremlin's punishment for the effort that Vladimir led to propose and implement the sanctions towards against the Kremlin officials, the perpetrators, in the case of Magnitsky, the 2006 death of a lawyer back in Russia. That's certainly a revenge on the Kremlin side, and of course also the signal for all of us outside of Russia who are actively trying to prosecute Kremlin for this incessant stream of atrocities that's been committed in Russia domestically, but now also outside of Russia, in Ukraine in particular, and of course try to create this perception of fear that essentially no matter how much you try, you'll end up essentially losing this game. I guess that's the idea.
The court is clearly making an example out of him there. I want to get your view. What does this mean for dissent in Russia and for people from Russia who are, working for the opposition or against the regime from outside the country?
Just one small point, that it's deliberate, right? That one of the judges on Vladimir's trial was Sergei Podoprigorov, who was personally included in the Magnitsky list. The list, as I said, that Vladimir has been advocating, that's very clearly a signal on the Kremlin side what the punishment is for. Well, I have to say, to Vladimir's credit, it means that sanctions bite. It means that they're creating a lot of problems for the Kremlin. Therefore, the Kremlin has to go for this, jump over these hurdles in order to prosecute him. But of course, it's a very dark moment in the Russian history. history, and this feels like the evil inside of Russia has at least temporarily, at least for now, has won. But of course, Vladimir's example also serves an inspiration for all of us to continue fighting and continue persecuting the Kremlin just to prevent these horrible things from happening going forward.
Yeah. He has vowed to not give up. How can he keep up the fight from inside the prison?
Well, Vladimir is highly influential, especially internationally, and his words, the information that he communicates, just recently he had published an op-ed in Washington Post, for example, right? They will continue to be influential, and even more so now that he clearly suffered so much for being able, to say and do all these things that he's been doing. So certainly he will continue to exert a lot of influence. Hopefully, there will be a possibility in the future to perhaps exchange him, since he is a British citizen, among other things. So hopefully that remains on the table. Having said that, I think it's on us, all of us who are still free and still are completely outraged by what the Kremlin is doing in the name of Russians, to continue trying to block them. And if Vladimir's example serves one demonstration, it is that the sanctions bite and they create a lot of problems for the Kremlin, clearly. So we should definitely continue pushing for more sanctions.